All right, welcome back for another episode of the CBSI Hot 10 show. I'm sorry I couldn't make it last week, but I was down in Baltimore. Had a great time there. It was good seeing everybody who stopped by to say hello, but unfortunately, I didn't have time to do the research necessary to give you guys a proper list. So, after 2 years, I did skip a week. So, again, I apologize, but I'm back on the horse. I got you a list this week. Don't worry, we got some new books to talk about. And with that, hopefully you're on board to check out everything we have here on the channel. Please let me know what you think in the comments down below. Make sure that you like, you subscribe, you hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. Keep telling your friends so we can keep growing the channel. And if you want to see this week's list, just hang out for a few seconds after the intro, and I will be right back.
Notable sales.
All right, for our first notable sales, I'm going to talk about some of these blind bag finds because, yes, all of last week and for much of this week, people have still been picking up those, Monster and the Wolf blind bags in droves. I mean, people are buying them in chunks of 10 packs, 15, 25 packs, 50 packs, 100 plus. People are buying lots and lots of these blind bags, but not everybody is. So I didn't feel right putting these particular books into the main list. So I decided, you know what, we're going to do a couple of them that stand out as notables, and then we'll move on and talk about some other stuff. So I missed most of it last week when the blind bags were released because, again, I was down in Baltimore. Again, sorry for the delay. But since last week into this week, here are a couple of standouts, including this one. This is the obvious homage to that Chamber of Chills. Very, very popular with collectors. This is actually the foil edition, mostly that I'm talking about. The regular edition is doing all right as well, but the foil edition standing out a little bit more as we're talking about a dozen sold here, which is a 117% increase over last week where it was out for a few days. Those initial orders, average of $38 is up 6%, while the high is hitting $72, which is a 44% jump from last week for the foil edition. Now, for this same book, we can talk about the regular edition, which would be book, what was that? It was A52, so it would have been A22. Then we're talking about 70 plus sales for that one in the regular edition, which is almost a 200% jump in volume. But the average price for the regular is only about $8. And considering this is a $6 pack for the most part, you might find it a little bit cheaper. You might pay a little bit more because there are some more expensive ones. On average, this book is only about $8 this past week, which is only about 27% in the regular edition, mind you, while the high for the regular edition is about $18, which is a 10% drop from the week before. So just keep that in mind as well, because last week I think it was like 11 and 20 were the average and the highs for this particular edition. Now, with that said, we do have a couple of more. I normally only do two for this segment, but for this week, I'm doing three because we're talking about these blind bag pulls. And one of the other popular regular editions, sort of with the foil edition that we can talk about, is this one, the Dave Stevens homage. Another popular one because it's an homage to Dave Stevens. This one is also doing very well. It's that Elvira cover that everybody knows. So this would be cover A48. Luckily, he numbered them because there are 90 different covers and variations that you can get for this in those blind bags. That's right. I said 90. 90. So he numbered them, thankfully. So this way you can track and figure out if you're trying to collect a set. I mean, that's a bold endeavor for anyone to try to get a whole set. But God bless you if you're going for it. A48 is the foil edition, and the foil edition, just like the last book, is doing pretty well. With over a dozen sold again, 225% increase. That's a bigger jump than the other book, but the average is actually down a tiny bit from last week, where it's averaging $49, so it's down about 9%, and the high is 65 for this foil edition, which is an 8% increase from the week before. And just like the last book, the regular edition is also doing well. That would be, I guess, A18. It's like a 30 issue jump between the two of them. So from last week, we had about 35 plus sales of this. So it was, doing pretty well for the regular edition, I'm saying. For this week, we've got 35 plus sales on the regular edition, which is a 38% increase from last week, where we also have averages of about $10 on this one for the regular edition, the non-foil edition. There's also a black and white for this one too. So keep that in mind. There's three versions of this particular one. And that's a 21% drop actually on that average, because it was a little over 12. I think it was like 12.50, almost $13 last week on average, but now it's only about 10. And then the high is only about $16 on the regular edition, which is actually a 75% drop, because I think it was like $25 last week for the regular one. So keep that. Oh, actually, it was 28. So keep that in mind. That again, while copies are still selling, people are still ripping. I actually have a whole stack of these that I just got from my DCBS order to rip. I'll probably do them like on some sort of a pop-up stream or something. I don't know. I haven't decided what I'm going to do with those extra ones for myself, but yeah, I got sucked up into it too. With that, I'm also aware that as far as the pulls go, the FOMO is starting to fade already. Like some of the prices, as you can see here, are coming down a little bit. So keep that in mind as well. And I've got one more I want to talk about, because this is one of the harder to find, one of the more standout secret edition books that people are looking for. And that is this one, this glow in the dark, kind of a with the wear and tear kind of look towards it, a little bit of that distressing. This is the cover A90. So again, this is the final, I think, numbered one. There are other books in here as well, apart from the foil editions. There's no regular edition to this one. There is a similar looking glow in the dark, but the skull is behind the trade dress. This one's on top, and it has the distressing. It's similar, but not exactly the same. There are the what is it? The Night of the Living Dead covers too. So you got those as well to keep an eye out for. But this particular book, which is one of the standouts as far as the price goes, is actually dropped quite a bit, even from last week into this week. But it's still worth noting that this thing is expensive if you can pull one of these. And there's almost 10 sold, down 10% from last week, averaging $176. But that's down 35%. High at 204. That's actually down 42%, because last week this same book was doing what was it doing last week? 271 as an average and 350 for the high. And that was the first few days of those blind bags. So you can already see some of these prices are easing off as the FOMO is starting to wear off for many. Yes, a lot of people are still ripping and opening these things, because they did print 360 plus thousand of these. There's a lot of them out there. A lot of different versions of covers. But what stands out from the rest, that'll be interesting to see long term. But for now, these three stood out from the pack, which is why I wanted to give them a special little spotlight before we went into the actual Hot 10 list, because I didn't want to put them in there because I didn't have enough. I didn't have enough data points to cover everything. So I just wanted to do these more as informational purposes. But before we get to the Hot 10, I want to remind any of you out there who need supplies, you can get 10% off your entire order by using my code RENNA10. So Renna10 for 10% off your BCW order. Get your bags, your boards, your long boxes, your short boxes, your CGC boxes, your top loaders for cards, basically anything to keep your comics or collectibles safe. BCW's got a product, and you might as well save some money while you do it. You help out the channel, you save a few bucks. Renna10 for 10% off your entire order. Now, with that all said and done, we can get into the actual Hot 10 list, starting off with our first book now.
Number 10.
Sorry for the bait and switch, but yes, here at number 10, I do still need to acknowledge the fact that these blind bags are selling in droves. They are, but I didn't want to do an entire list of blind bags and what you can get inside the blind bags. So I did the notable sales so we can talk about a couple of the standouts, but mainly the bags themselves are still doing very, very well as far as volumes go. We're talking about thousands sold. That's right. You look, there are thousands of sales and listings. Granted, most of them are for close to cover price, which is $6. Some a few bucks more, maybe $8, $10. A lot of lots being sold, like 5-packs, 10-packs, 25, 50s, etc. Cases. People are selling cases for like $1,000. Granted, I don't know how many are in an actual case, but they're selling cases of these things. Point being, volumes crazy, but it still can be found pretty much for cover price. Even my buddy with a shop said he still has a bunch of packs still on his shelf that are just there for cover, $6, as well as some that he opened where if people just want to get some of the covers because he was trying to collect a set, they're out there for people to just pick up and pick which ones that they like. So the books are out there, but I still needed to note that thousands are being sold. And yes, for some reason, it hit highs of $25. I don't know why. And I know Whatnot's a different place. Whatnot's a different animal. But on eBay, high at 25, couple like $10, $15 sales here and there. But by and large, mostly are for cover price. And with that, I know there's complaints about the allocations. I can't speak to it too much, but I can say that witnessing it in Baltimore, sometimes I guess if you're getting hits, that run might have a lot of hits in it. I didn't run across personally into a lot of duplicates, but I did notice a lot of hits in what some of the ones I opened and some of the ones that some of my friends opened from this particular seller who had a bunch of packs on sale at Baltimore. So I will say that hits might be kind of congregated together, so maybe they're not as evenly dispersed as you might hope, but who knows? I can't say anything else beyond that, but that is our number 10 book. We just want to note it, mention it. It is worth noting, and that is our number 10 book. So with that, we can move on the list and check out what we have next at number 9.
Number 9.
And here we have another. I'm just kidding. No more blind bags. We're talking about a thank you edition, though. So this is a one per store, one per account thank you that we've seen before for Exquisite Corpses. This is now issue 6. They've done them for the first 5. They did it again for issue 6 with that special foil edition going out to one per store that you can get. You can go and try to get from the LCS if you want. This is actually standing out from the pack a little bit more than I would have expected. We've seen these here before. Every time they get released, they find their way here near the bottom, usually with more volume, but usually lower prices. Here, I've seen about a dozen sold thereabouts, but the average is already $48 on the issue 6, high hitting 83. Those prices are more akin to what we got with the first issue rather than the last few. The last few, it'd been like, well, we got a couple dozen sales, but they're like 30, 35. Maybe highs of 50. In this case, they're averaging about 50 with that high hitting 83. So even though the volume's down for now, again, this is data as of Friday afternoon. So we're talking about a day and a half on the shelf. That's what I got to work with. That's why this one is here at number 9. But with that, we got plenty more books coming your way. So let's check out our number 8.
Number 8.
And we've got Muppets. That's right. I was surprised that many people are actually grabbing a lot of these Muppet covers. I covered them on the Wednesday watch list. I even did a couple shorts showing the whole run of them. And yes, they are fun homage covers, but some of them are standing out again from the pack. This one in particular, Amazing Spider-Man Torn, came out I think about a week and a half ago. The cover A had the Adam Hughes Spider-Man on it, but this one is the you got Miss Piggy holding Kermit, and that obvious A of 15 homage there. This one we've seen about 20 sales, which isn't too bad, but averaging $17 already, with highs hitting $22. So that's not too bad considering. Again, this book has only been out less than 2 weeks, and it's doing all right as far as prices go. Those early books started at cover, started to creep up from there. Now we're talking about this being potentially a $15 to $20 book already. I was surprised by that. But with that, that's why it's found its way on the list here at number 8. And it is not alone as far as the Muppet books go. So let's take a look and see what we got here at number 7.
Number 7.
And at number 7, we have another Muppet, this being the Swedish Chef doing his Wolverine number 1. I do like this one. I think this one's a lot of fun. And I'm not alone, apparently. So even though I'm not picking up Spider-Man and Wolverine, I did want this Greg Land cover because the Swedish Chef, it's pretty fun. And a lot of people, like I said, agree as there have been 30 plus sales, and this is averaging $15, high hitting 20 already. So much like the Miss Piggy, this is about the same range. Yes, Miss Piggy did have a couple of bucks higher as far as the average and the high goes, but volumes are much stronger here on the Swedish Chef, which is why I put him one notch higher than Miss Piggy there at number 8. But both of them are doing surprisingly well, at least to me, and above and beyond anything I would have expected for these Muppet covers. I figured these were just going to be regular variant editions that, just like everything else that Marvel releases, they'd get easily forgotten about. But no, right out of the gate, a couple of these are doing triple cover, so keep that in mind. Check your shops if you like these. If you want to collect a set, it could be tough, and some of these are doing better than others. And with that, that's our number 7 book, which leaves us one more to finish off the bottom half of the list. So let's see what we got next at number 6.
Number 6.
So we've got news that they're going to be doing an animated series, much like the Invincible animated series, more of the adult tone, but for the Energon universe. That's right. Void Rivals, G.I. Joe, Transformers, which is also now expanded to Mask, if you read the last issue of Transformers, but it all began with Void Rivals. So Void Rivals kicked it off, surprised many with that Jetfire appearance, and with that, issue number 1 of Void Rivals has started to sell in volumes this past week or so. So this is the cover A. Yes, there are multiple covers, multiple printings, a lot of different options for this book, but I'm just talking about regular old cover A for now. So regular old cover A, what did we see? Well, considering I didn't do a list last week, sometimes like this book, I'm talking for both weeks. I'm looking at about 50 plus sales over the last 2 weeks for this Void Rivals number 1, because the news kind of dropped late last week while I was in Baltimore, and it kind of carries over through the 2 weeks. So 50 plus sales, highs hitting $10, which is not a crazy number. Most of these were still kind of near cover price or a little bit above, but that's still a 43% increase from sales from prior to my 2-week window. And CGC 9.8s now hitting $80 again, where that's a 33% jump from where they were 2 weeks ago, which I think was like $50 or $52 or something like that. But point being, prices are up, volumes are up, excitement is up, as I'm hoping it is going to be just as good as the Invincible adaptation. And who knows where they're going to start. I mean, we just heard they're adapting the Energon universe. Are we getting 3 separate shows? Are we getting one show that's going to cover all 3 products? Are they going to combine things, adapt specific storylines? We don't know a lot yet, but we do know the Energon universe started here. So a lot of people went and grabbed up this Void Rivals number 1 this past week or two. So with that, that is our number 6 book. Now let's get to the top half of the list and see what we got next at number 5.
Number 5.
We also got news that they wrapped filming for Green Lantern, the HBO Max series that is coming our way from Green Lantern himself. That's right, the actor who plays Jon Stewart told us that they're done filming and to expect some epic things. I'm looking forward to this show. I am a big fan of Green Lantern. I was let down by the Ryan Reynolds movie, like many of you. So I have high hopes for this show. We'll see what happens. It's still, from the premise, it wasn't my favorite idea of why we have our space cops in the Midwest. But hey, I'll deal with it and see what we got. With that, Jon Stewart's first appearance, since the announcement came from him, we know he's going to be on the show. This book has started seeing some movement this past week. Now, with a classic book like this, with the prices where they are, we're not going to be talking about 60, 100 copies sold. It's just not what happens. In fact, I only noticed about 10 to 12 sales for this already, but that in and of itself is a 400% increase in volume from last week. So, context, right? And this week's average, and that goes across grades, conditions, graded, ungraded, averaging $365. Again, 170% jump from last week, with the high this sale this week being a CGC 9.0 selling for $725, which is a 28% jump in that grade from the last 9.0 sale. I'd also like to point out there was a $700 9.2 sale this week as well that took place before this 9.0. But books are moving, people picking up Jon Stewart again, getting excited for this Green Lantern series. So that's why it's found its spot here at number 5. And with that, let's keep it rolling and check out what we got next.
Number 4.
So dropping from the top spot from 2 weeks ago, we still have Salvation Run hanging in there. I know it's dropped a few spots from that number one place, but it is still selling very well and has over the last 2 weeks with prices on the uptick. Why? Well, it's not just the Peacemaker appearance and the Peacemaker reference at the end of that series, but since that time, apparently DC has trademarked Salvation Run. Does that mean they're going to adapt again this series? Probably not. Are they going to give us some sort of adaptation that uses that name? That's likely. Who knows for sure, though? We'll see, and we'll know more as they announce more. But for now, people are still buying this book with 80 plus sales over the last 2 weeks. Again, trying to play a little catch up. So cover 2 weeks worth of volume. Highs hit $30 during that time. $30. This was like $11 when it was at number 1, because it still was a cheap book with the entire set selling pretty well. But that $30 was a 172% jump in the high price, with averages also up to $17, which is a 240% jump in that average price. So prices across the board are up on this one, and volumes are not quite as high as where they were. I mean, that first week or that last time it was on here, it was like 100 plus sales, but still doing very, very well for what we have here. In addition, I'd also like to point out that I counted a couple dozen sets, issues 1 through 7 sold, and those are also up 50% as they're now averaging about $75, where I even saw some sell for over 100. And where last time out, I think sets were selling for like 30 to 50. Now they're averaging 75. So keep that in mind as well as all 7 issues. Again, the name Salvation Run, the name of the planet got trademarked. So we'll see what that means and if that means anything beyond that. But with that, we still have the top 3 left. So let's check them out now.
Number 3.
More news that's straight to series order from Netflix. Black Hole is being adapted. This classic indie book. I mean, at this point, this came out in what, 95, I believe, from Kitchen Sink. I think it was actually printed at Kitchen Sink and Fantagraphics at the same time. But regardless, Black Hole #1, seeing some volume, seeing some sales this week from basically nothing. I think there was one sale last week because it got a straight to series order over at Netflix. So this Charles Burns book sold about 30 copies this past week, averaging $20 with raw highs hitting $42. There were some other outlier sales with some signature editions and some lots that had more than just issue 1 in there as well. But for just issue 1 alone, that's what we're talking about, averaging 20, high hitting 42 so far. Is that the ceiling? I'm not sure. But with these indie adaptations, we see this a lot. You get that 1 week spike with the announcement, then they kind of fade into the background until we get more news. I'd probably expect more of the same from this with that, because yes, it's getting straight to series order, but when are we going to see it? Not exactly sure yet. With that, that is our number 3 book, but we still have 2 left, so let's take a look at what they are.
Number 2.
So, mention the Energon universe, and yes, Transformers 1 has probably been one of the standouts, I guess, of those series. I mean, I'm a fan of all. I love G.I. Joe. I love Transformers. I've enjoyed Void Rivals, but Transformers really has been the driving force, I think, for the Energon universe, I guess, from, most people's perspectives, as we've seen more of them kind of work their way into G.I. Joe and into Void Rivals, etc., as kind of being that cohesive tie throughout the universe. And Energon also comes from the Transformers. So with that, number 1, Daniel Warren Johnson showing up on the list again. It's been here before. It's been a while. And since then, the price has kind of come up because this used to be one of those $15, $20 books ages ago, but it has easily found its way into that $40, $50 range over the past year or so. But this past 2 weeks, we've seen 35 plus sold. I think about 20 of them were this week, about 15 the week before. High hitting $50, which is a 25% jump from the highs of 40 from before. And CGC 9.8s are also up $105, as that is a 102% jump because 2 weeks ago, a 9.8 sold at auction for this number 1 for $52. $52 for a 9.8 at auction. So somebody got a deal there because, again, didn't take much time for that price to double. 105 this week for that 9.8 as news of those animated projects coming our way, or project. Again, don't have too many details, but I am excited and can't wait for more. With that, we've got 1 book left. Can you guess what it is? Is it going to be G.I. Joe #1? Is it going to be something we've seen before? Is it going to be something new? I don't know, but let's check it out right now.
And our number 1.
It's actually a Muppet book. That's right. I did not think when I got tipped off by Brucifer that this thing was selling, I had no idea that I would be putting this book in the top spot this week. But you know what? It kind of earned it. This is Venom 250, that Secret Wars 8 homage. We got Rolf here in his black suit, Venomized look. This thing by Nick Bradshaw. And I love that the whole trade dress, everything kind of matchy-matchy to the homage. It's all perfect. This thing is selling way better than I would have thought. I mean, we're talking about 30 plus sales over the past 2 weeks. Because again, this was selling well last week too, but I didn't do a show, so I couldn't talk about it last week. But over the past 2 weeks, over a couple dozen sales, almost 3 dozen sales, averaging $35. That's right. This is averaging $35 right now, with highs hitting $50 for this Rolf book. That's right. Rolf as Venom. Issue 250 of Venom. Yep. No returns, etc. You know what's in the guts of this book, but it is one of those Muppet 70th anniversary books that is standing out from the pack. Again, not all of them are here. A bunch of them are still near cover price, but who knows which may be the next to jump up and be the collector's, book of choice for the week. I don't know. But for now, Rolf is standing out from the pack and has grabbed that top spot on the Hot 10. So, hopefully you enjoyed that. Hopefully you found that interesting, but don't go anywhere. The boys with the qualified are up next, and they will be giving you their quarterly update on Kickstarter. Some Kickstarter projects, giving you some updates, giving you some tips, maybe some projects that are nearing completion that you can still get in on. They're going to be talking about that, as well as the outside looking in and all the other fun segments they do every Friday after the Hot 10 is complete. So stick around for the boys on the qualified next. Come back this weekend for more from SNS to the Star Wars show on Sunday. And then I'll try to get my schedule back on track next week and get the Wednesday watch list out on Monday as opposed to Tuesday, and maybe do some extra content here and there as well. So with that, plenty more to do now that Baltimore has passed, and as I got to get through my son's birthday weekend and week. Once that's done, I'll be able to get back on a normal schedule and get that content out for you all. So with that, thanks for your patience. Thanks for your support, and I'll see you all later. All right, bye.